What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking About Baseball, and today I'll pretty much just be giving a recap on what happened in the World Baseball Classic. If you've been living under a rock as a baseball fan for the past month or so, you would have not known that there was the World Baseball Classic. And so we are pretty much just going to be getting into the basics on how this works. So first of all, we have the qualifying tournament. There's two pools, and there's 6 teams in each pool. So if you're good at math, 12 teams total. I know, that was hard. And then 2 from each pool move on, which will be in the final 4 pools that play in the actual World Baseball Classic. So, eliminated from Pool A was Germany, Spain, France, and South Africa. And then eliminated from Pool B was Brazil, Argentina, Pakistan, and New Zealand. So, these teams were able to make it into the real thing, but they didn't actually make it into the real World Baseball Classic. This was just like a smaller bracket for teams that could make it, but the other 16 teams were already guaranteed a spot in the World Baseball. So now we can talk about the 2 teams that moved on, and so qualifying from Pool A was the Czech Republic and Great Britain. Now the big story here is the Czech Republic made it for the first time ever. The first time ever the Czech Republic made it. This is a big thing. All of their players had like regular day jobs in the Czech Republic. None of them were ready to actually move on to the World Baseball Classic, but they did. And Great Britain moved on with them. In Pool B, Panama and Nicaragua moved on. So not really any cool stories there, just Panama and Nicaragua, I guess. So now we move on to the regular World Baseball Classic tournament. We have 4 pools, 5 teams each, and 2 from each pool move on to the quarterfinals. So eliminated from Pool A was the Chinese Taipei, which is practically Taiwan, Netherlands, and Panama. Eliminated from Pool B, we have Korea, China, and Czech Republic. And then eliminated from Pool C, we have Colombia, Canada, and Great Britain. And then eliminated from Pool B is the big shocker, Israel and Nicaragua, which I guess aren't really shockers, but the Dominican Republic. That's the big one that I think a lot of people were surprised by, including myself. I had them winning it all over Japan, and they end up losing to Puerto Rico, and they didn't end up even moving on to the quarterfinals. We move on to the teams that qualified. So qualifying in Team A. So qualifying in Pool A, we have Cuba and Italy. I'm not really surprised by that. I had Italy and Netherlands. I'm a little bit surprised by Cuba, but anyway. Qualifying in Pool B, we had Japan and Australia. Japan, I wasn't surprised by at all, but Australia, I was very surprised by. I did not expect Australia to move on. They were very underrated, especially because really their only good player is Liam Hendriks from Australia, and he was not competing. But Robbie Glendinning, amazing name, he stepped up, sent them to the quarterfinals. The qualifying teams from Pool C, we had USA and Mexico. Not really surprised by this one, although I think Colombia also had a pretty good shot. Mexico ended up going really far, but we'll talk about that more later. USA, one of the other juggernauts in this, not surprised that they made it out of their pool. And then we move on to qualifying in Pool D. We had Venezuela, who I had making it all the way to the semifinals, which did not end up happening. And I also obviously had the Dominican Republic moving on from this pool, but Puerto Rico beat them, and Edwin Diaz also unfortunately tore his patellar in this game, which might have ended my fantasy season, but, you know, that's great. So we move on to the quarterfinals. There's 8 teams, 4 of them move on. Those 4 teams that move on are going to the semifinals. Now that we have some of these teams that are going to be going to the semifinals, I decided to put in some scores. So we have Cuba over Australia. That actually surprised me. I had Australia winning this game, but Cuba narrowly beat them out 4-3. Japan over Italy. I don't think anyone expected Italy to win this. Japan was completely stacked throughout this entire thing. They win 9-3. Mexico over Puerto Rico. I think I thought Mexico would win, but also Puerto Rico beat the Dominican Republic, which I think was a huge statement. But they end up losing to Mexico, who I thought the Dominican Republic was better than Mexico. I thought the Dominican Republic was the best team, but they obviously did not move on. If they did, they would probably win against Mexico, in my opinion, but they didn't. And then USA over Venezuela. This was one of the craziest games. Venezuela had a big lead, and then this happened.
0-2. Turner to left field and deep. Peralta back. It is gone!
after the Turner home run, USA won and moved on to the semifinals. Crazy moment. Insane moment for the World Baseball Classic. If the USA had won, I think Trey Turner probably would have won MVP. So, kind of just spoiled that they didn't win right there, but it's okay. Trey Turner had a great World Baseball Classic. Probably had the best World Baseball Classic out of anybody. But now we move on to the semifinals. So we have Japan over Mexico. This was a great game. I think a lot of people expected Japan to win, and then Mexico had the lead for the entire game. And in the late innings, Japan came in clutch, and they walked it off. Right here is the clip.
Gallegos looks back at Ohtani. The pitch is hit to left center field. Hit very well, and it is off the wall. Ohtani flying around third, right behind him, scoring the winning run. It's a walk-off. Japan will play for the championship.
Been thinking about it for 6 years now. A moment in the World Baseball Classic he will never forget. A country that is going absolutely crazy in Japan.
And now after we've seen that, we can move on to USA over Cuba. This game was not even close. Cuba never had a chance. 14-2. USA absolutely demolished them. Not even close whatsoever. Cuba had zero chance in that game. And now we move on to the final, an outstanding game. So it started off with Japan and USA. It was actually pretty much a pitching duel, which I think was unexpected because their offenses had been going crazy the entire World Baseball Classic. And USA is coming off of 2 games where they scored 9 runs and 14 runs. And Japan is coming off of games where they scored 9 and 6. So I think it was expected to be kind of high scoring. Their pitching staffs are relatively good, except for the USA's. I feel like it wasn't even that great. And that definitely kind of hurt them at times. But in the end, Japan beat USA on the most memorable thing I think I've ever seen. I watched the whole game, and we got a thing that we will most likely never see again. Right.
3-2 from Ohtani. He throws. Trout strikes out swinging. Ohtani and Japan celebrate a World Baseball Classic championship.
That game was one of the best games I had ever watched. Japan versus USA. We got to see Ohtani versus Trout in the last at-bat of the game. That's what made it so good. It was the last at-bat. Ohtani versus Trout. Ohtani showed that he is truly the star of MLB now. I mean, Trout probably wouldn't be the next guy in line anyway, but Ohtani is that guy. Ohtani strikes out Trout. Crazy storylines. World Baseball Classic is amazing. I love the World Baseball Classic. I'm hoping the USA can win next time, but Japan was just too overpowered for them. They got the bomb from the guy who won MVP the last 2 years in Japan. I think his name is Murataka Murakami. I might have botched that name. Probably did. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed my recap of the World Baseball Classic, just kind of filling you in on what happened. Outstanding series. Ton of cool things happened. I cannot wait for the next World Baseball Classic. Hopefully I can go. And I will see you in the next video, which will be daily uploads continuing for as long as possible. There might be some days I have to take off, but I am trying to do daily uploads the best I can. I'm going to be getting some new stuff for the channel, but I'm not going to rush that. I think we're doing good right now. I hope you enjoy the next videos. We got the banner. Like, subscribe, follow me on Patreon. That'll be in the description. Bye.